Things continue with Metal explaining his worldview that being worthlessly weak is inexcusable. Lance responds by casting his gravity spell, hoping to slam Metal to the ground, thus ending the fight quickly. As he doesn't have time to be Madely's playmate, the number 3 quickly uses his magic to turn his land zone into mud, allowing him to enter his mud dimension unheard. Lance looks around the battle area as he tries to anticipate where his opponent will spring out from. He appears behind him, commenting on how much of a surprise it is that Lance uses gravity magic. The blue head turns and is faced with multiple cones of his opponent. They all dash toward him simultaneously. However, Lance keeps his composure and activates his gravity magic, which crushes the mud clones before they can get any closer. Mantle enters his mud's world and launches a surprise spike attack using the residual mud, but Lance is no slouch and dodges it with ease. After seeing the clone at work, he immediately figures that he must concentrate on defeating the original to end things. Quickly he decides to attack the whole field, but Mantle evades and emerges behind him. The guy quickly launches a spell that restricts Lance's movement before he can react. The number 3 then fires mud cannonballs at his target. He gets a few direct hits, which leaves the blue hair a little disheveled. Mantle begins to comment on the Crown family that Lance hails from and acknowledges his lineage. However, he calls him wasted talent because he's not with Langsdorm, before offering him a chance to join the Magia Lupus. The number 3 takes a cheeky shot, stating that he would fit in nicely in the lower ranks. This would give him a better chance for his magic to flourish. The elites believe that growth depends on who one surrounds themselves with, so if he surrounds himself with the garbage in Aldersdorm, then he will become one of them. On the other hand, Magia Lupus is full of talent and resources, so his skill will see a significant improvement. Lance has a different outlook, feeling that his conviction is not superficial enough for the environment to have such a drastic impact. He rather views the Magia Lupus as second-rate students, but Madel gets amused by the comment. Before he can even retaliate, Lance casts a sideways gravity spell which sends him to fly into the wall, but he uses his mud magic to absorb the impact. As he finds himself in his little world, the number 3 feels like he has the upper hand, since gravity magic needs a place to slam the opponent into. The smud look on his face is quickly wiped away when Lance fires rocks at high speed into the mud. This forces Metal to dash out of his safe space before he's pelted into submission. Lance believes that based on the number 3's logic, his environment is the superior one. This triggers Mantle to enter an internal monologue, as he believes that because he was born with 2 lines, the resulting higher magic capacity makes him greater than the average flunky. He has been at this prestigious academy since his middle school days, so his joining of the Magia Lupus was inevitable. While in the group, he is receiving an education that is only reserved for Lang's best. With all of this in mind, he assures himself that he's strong. The upper-class man finds Lance to be cocky for a first year and decides to take things to another level. Mantle takes a controversial potion, which is the concentrated magical essence extracted from the student they have been attacking. This gives an incredible boost in magical power, and Lance picks up on the blade and doping. Someone please call the anti-doping agency, because this guy is trying to pass the concoction as liquid chicken, rice, and broccoli. Mantle casts the second stage of his spell, which causes his mud to fabricate a giant devil-like creature. He explains that all magic has tiers. This second level is a different form of magic than what is used by single-liners. It is higher tier magic that only certain double-liners are allowed to cast. The guy gets a flashback to his father informing him that his achievement determines his worth, and only those who have an aptitude for magic have that worth. This drives him to obsessively study and practice magic. Currently, achievement and strength are what sustains him, and he feels like he earned his present position. He believes that because Lance associates with lesser bloodlines, he will never achieve the level of magic that is about to defeat him. But blue hair Chad easily dodges the attack and tells Mal that he doesn't understand anything. The people that he calls flunkies are just as capable and can even be learned from. This is exemplified as Lance activates the second stage of his gravity spell he calls the Summon Monolith's Torture Pole. As they surround Mantle and his beast, the pillars exert a strong gravitational pull toward themselves. This means that the monster in the middle is being pulled by gravity in all directions. Lance drops the final pull from above, which rips the mud beast apart. Mantle stands there in disbelief that his strongest spell was so easily defeated. He gets another flashback of his Dad telling him that entering the Bureau of Magic alone will not make him worthy of being his son. He will still be worthless to him till this day. His father is waiting for him to show something which will make him worthy, as he calls himself worthless. Lance returns Mashle's book to him and notices that it has had a lot of use. The Blue Herod also reveals that his parents measured his worth based on social standing more than anything else, judging by the number 3's words and actions. Lance knows that he too was raised in such an environment. He doesn't agree with that worldview, but he respects all the effort Manuel has put in to live to that high expectation. This strikes a chord with him as Lance walks away. The Magia Lupus member tries to downplay his happiness that someone finally respects him. All the while Mash removes his school uniform in preparation to fight Razor and hops a few times before dashing and landing a kick, but the masked guy somehow blocks the attack with his sword. He counters with a speedy attack that Mash struggles to comprehend. Razor informs the magical student that he can't win against him. The secret behind his superhuman speed is revealed as he stands on a magic arrow like some bootleg Silver Surfer that accelerates him like he's on Mario Kart, allowing him to slice Mash in an instant. After showing a glimpse of his skill, Razor asks his opponent to give up or he will not show any remorse if he chooses to carry on. Before he can finish his warning, Mash interrupts, telling him that all his waffling doesn't matter. The masked guy gets annoyed when he remembers that Mash is going through all of this so that he can live in peace with his family. He finds the magical student's reasoning revolting. Razor feels like their situation is similar. However, his ideas of living happily ever after is where they differ. Based on this, he knows that Mash must be blessed to have the people he is around him and pleads for him to show his best as they fight. To up the stakes of the fight, he shows Mash that Lemon has been strapped to a device that drains magic powers. He informs him that in about 30 minutes, her magic power will be completely drained, making her lose her ability to use magic. Razor hints that he knows that Mash can't use magic, as he states that she will be just like him. Mash feels like if he's bold enough to say those words, then he must be ready for his mask to be broken into pieces. Razor takes his words as a challenge and promises not to hold back. He places his acceleration arrows surrounding Mash and dashes around, slicing him with ridiculous speed. All the magical student can do is cover his vital areas. The assault ends when Razor lands a stab on his abdomen. When he tries to remove the blade, he's unable to because Mash tenses his abs. The guy allowed the attack to hit him so that he can close the distance between the two of them. He grabs Razor by his robe and headbutts his mask, destroying it like he foretold. Number 2 tries to cover his face with his hands, but Mash notices his red eye and comments that it's bloodshot. Razor is surprised that he doesn't know what it means. Mash apologizes for getting it wrong. The guy alerts him that he doesn't need to apologize and explains that his eye is called the evil eye. It is the eye of the devil, which temporarily disables the magic of all who fall under its gaze. Since magic is everything in this world, such an ability makes him a target of hate. Hearing this makes Mash a little sad that he can't use his liability on him. Razor assures him that all is well, but outlines that he's the natural enemy of all magic users, so he has been feared and despised his whole life. Even his parents have the same sentiments, but he feels like someone as blessed as Mash can't possibly understand how that feels. He comments that some people in this world should have never been born. He too can use the high level of his magic ability as he activates his second. This creates a force field around them both. A red arrow that points down appears on Mash's abdomen before he can process its meaning. Razor dashes at him and cuts him several times as Mash throws a punch in slow motion. He sees that Mash is surprised by his lack of speed and explains that the field decreases the momentum of everyone else within it, and Grey France that speed to him. He darts towards the magical student and begins to attack him with an intense barrage of cuts as Razor bolts to land the finishing blow. Mash slowly counters by smashing the ground, which splits the floor into two, creating a tunnel with nowhere for Razor to maneuver. It gives Mash the chance to land a counter that shatters the number 2's blade. Razor realizes what is going on and tries to retreat, but the magicless student steps on his foot, preventing him from moving. Mash lands a devastating punch to his gut that sends him crashing through his barrier. This gives him the chance to perform a damaging combination. Even Razor can see that they are completely different levels. As he falls to the floor, the number 2 refuses to take his loss. As he reminds himself of his reason for living, he activates his accelerate ability one last time and dashes towards Mash, but the magicless student stops his blade with his bare hand, encounters with a backhand that Will Smith would happily come and learn how to do. Mash continues his assault with a barrage of high-quality attacks, sending Razor flying all over the place like for ragdoll. The final move shatters the barrier as he suplexes him to the ground. Razor lies there in a crater, unable to move, as he wonders how his life would be like if he was to be born normal. He reveals that Heb was still a young child when his eye manifested, and his parents were shocked. He was blessed with the god's gift of magic as a double-liner, while also cursed with the eye of the devil, just like the markless children. They rejected his existence. His parents locked him in a cell to keep his situation hidden, and all that he was given was his sent meals. That was his life for a while, till one day his parents tried to end him. He suspects they must have run out of patience for having a child like him. He comments that he should have never been born. However, he established a new purpose when he found that Abel needed him. Even if he was just a useful tool, it was better than being hated. But as he sits there in defeat, he couldn't even meet that expectation. After hearing him out, Mash agrees that he has been blessed for having the life that he has had despite being born without magic. He can't even imagine what Razor has been through, but he believes that they could become friends. The number 2 calls him amenable, but predicts that Mash's attitude toward him will change too because of how kind Mash is. He pleads with him not to proceed further because he can't defeat Abel. During their first encounter, Abel was not using his true power. Mash interrupts him and thanks him for the warning, but he has every intention of fighting their leader. He also informs him that his attitude toward him will not change, in hopes that they can share some cream puffs in the future. As he says goodbye, Razor finds Mash strange as the episode comes to an end.